All right, everyone. I'm going to record the first 10 questions for you here so we can review real quickly and go over the midterm questions. Just in case you're doing this at home, you'll have the recording. And so I'm going to begin with question 1. In question 1, I'm looking at 3x to the fourth power minus 243 x to the second power equal to 0. So what we want to do in this case is we obviously want to factor out the common term. So I know that for a fact it should be 3x squared should be taken out. And this will leave you x squared minus, in this case, 3 goes into 243 81 times. And you should be able to distribute this again and come back to the original question. So that's how you know you're on the right track as far as the work is concerned. Now, we want to remember that this can be factored further. We know that this is a repeating 0, so we already know that x is equal to 0. And here, this is x minus 9 times x plus 9. So you have 3 solutions for this equation. Your solutions are 0, negative 9, and positive 9. And usually we write these in, as I've always stated, in number line order, in a sense, numerical order. So I would write this as negative 9, comma 0, comma 9. I believe in your answer choices, this should be answer choice C. And that is what your answer is for number 1 in this review. Okay, question 2. Question 2 in your midterm review, you have 2x to the fourth power is equal to 54. So step 1, 54x. Step 1 is to subtract the 54x on both sides. Now that you have 2x to the fourth minus 54x, you're going to factor out the common term. If you notice, the common term is 2x. This leaves you with x to the third minus 27. So a cubic function, no less. You should already know your cubes. If you know your cubes, you know that that has to be 3. And because it's cubic, it can only be positive 3. Because remember, cubes, if I have negative 3 to the third power, the result of this is actually going to be negative 27, and we're actually trying to prove that this is equal to 0. So that means that this has to be a positive 3 raised to the third power, which is positive 27. So that means that we have values that are equivalent to our repeating 0, which is x is equal to 0. And over here we have the value where x is equal to 3. And you would simply take this part of the equation using a calculator if you need. So let's say you're hypothetically, because of your nerves or time, you're not sure or you want to make sure, you're going to take the x cubed minus 27 equal to 0. You're going to add 27 to both sides. And that's going to give you x cubed is equal to 27, which when you take the cube root on both sides of this particular question, you will get x is equal to 3. So you only have 2 solutions to choose from here. In this case, your first solution selection should be D, which is 0 and 3, and not negative 3. So don't get confused with that. Okay, let's look at question 3. In question 3, remember you're going to use factor by grouping, where you have x cubed plus 2x squared minus x minus 2, which is already a big hint as to what one of your factors should look like. So if I use factor by grouping, I'm looking at the first 2 terms. I'm taking out x squared, leaving me x plus 2. As I look over here, what would make the x and the 2 positive? Well, if I extract a negative 1. So now this is x plus 2. And this is obviously equal to 0. So you have one factor which is x squared minus 1. You have a second factor which is x plus 2. And these are equal to 0. I can factor this further. So now we have x minus 1 times x plus 1 times x plus 2. And thus your solutions are going to be negative 1, negative 2, positive 1. So in order, if I place them in order, the answer choices, it looks like you have answer choice B as a solution here. And that would be, they did not put these in order. I don't know if you noticed, they actually didn't matter. They wrote negative 1, 1, negative 2. And that's okay. Give them what they want. All right. Next question is question 4. You have x cubed plus 8x squared plus 15x equal to 0. If I factor out an x, I'm left with x squared plus 8x plus 15, again, equal to 0. So in this case, I have to consider that if I were to factor this out here, obviously I have a repeating 0, it looks like, for number 4. And so that means that C should be your option, because you're going to end up with your repeating 0. This will be x plus 3, obviously, times x plus 5. And again, remember in FOIL you have the inner outer, which gives you the 8x, and the 3 times 5, which gives you the 15. So your solutions are 0, negative 3, and negative 5, which is answer choice C for number 4. Okay, let's look at question 5. In question 5, we're solving for the radical. We have the square root of 30x plus 15. And this is equal to x plus 8. Okay, so obviously I need to free up the 30x plus 15. So I have to take the square on both sides. So I'll square both sides. This leaves me just the 30x plus 15. And this is now equal to x squared plus 16x plus 64. Now, what you want to do is you want to subtract the 30x and the 15 and move it to the right-hand side. All right, and so all this all cancels. And now you're left with x squared minus 14x plus 49. All right, and so if I factor this, I end up with x minus 7 times x minus 7. So your only solution is x is equal to 7. So for number 5, the answer choice should be B. Number 6, you have the square root of 2x plus 7 is equal to x plus 3. So if you notice, I wrote it kind of far away from the square root because I don't want you to get confused. I'm subtracting the 7 on both sides. I'm left with square root of 2x is equal to x minus 4. Obviously, at this point, I'm going to square both sides. This is going to leave me 2x is equal to x squared minus 8x plus 16. If I subtract the 2x on both sides, I'm now left with x squared minus 10x plus 16, which means that this factor is an x minus 2 times x minus 8. Now, I want to stop for a second because I want you to realize that in question 5, I didn't go back and check for the 7, which, bad on me for not showing you the example, but it has a radical. Remember, far. If I have a fraction, an absolute value, or a radical, I have to check. So I have to see that the square root of 30 times 7 plus 15 will equal or be equivalent to 7 plus 8, which is 15. So this gives me the square root of 30 times 7 plus 15 So this is going to give me 225. Is that equal to 15? Obviously, if I take the square root of 215, I get 225, so it checks out. Same thing over here. Over here, you have two answers that are going to ensue. You have x is equal to 2 or 8. Which one works? So we're going to start by using the 2. So let me do this in red. If I do square root of 2 times 2, which is 4, right? And that should equal, according to this question, if I add 7, it should be equivalent to 2 plus 3, which is 5. So square root of 4, which is what you basically get here, plus 7 is going to equal 9. That is not equal to 5, which is what you get here. So 2 is not one of your answers. If I check the 8, this is 2 times 8, which is 16. Square root of 16 is 4. So 4 plus 7, that's 11. That should equal 8 plus 3 when I substitute, which is also 11. So that's the answer. So number 6, your solution for this should be A for number 6. Okay, number 7. In question 7, we have parentheses x plus 8 raised to the 3 over 2, and that's equal to 216. If I raise both sides to 2 over 3, that'll cancel out because that's 6 over 6, which is 1, leaving you x plus 8 to the first power, which is just x plus 8, equal to. Here you have 216, and if I'm taking the cube root of 216, that should give me, let's see here, that should give me 6 to the second power, which is 36. So I have x plus 8 equals 36. I'm going to subtract 8 on both sides. And this is going to leave me with basically x equal to 28. Okay, so that means that answer choice for number 7 should be D. All right, let's look at question number 8. So we have x squared plus 12x plus 36, all of that raised to the 3 over 4 power, minus 8 is equal to 19. We're going to add this 8 on both sides. So this gives you x squared plus 12x plus 36 raised to the 3 over 4 power is equal to 27. if I raise both sides of this equation to the reciprocal 4/3 exponent, so I'm going to raise it to 4/3, this will cancel out because this will become 12 over 12, which is 1. So this leaves you with x squared plus 12x plus 36 is equal to, and now if I take the cube root of 27, which is 3, and I raise 3 to the 4th power, that leaves me with 81. So I'm going to have to subtract this 81 on both sides. Now I have x squared plus 12x, and I have negative 45 left over here. That's obviously equal to 0. So now we need to do a little factoring here. So two numbers that multiply to give you 45, but add up to give you 12. So I'm thinking that if this is x plus 15 times x minus 3, that would work. So my solutions are equal to negative 15 and positive 3. And so for number 8, our solution for number 8 should be C, which is negative 15 and 3. Okay, let's look at 9 and 10. Okay, so 9, you have x to the 4th power minus 20x to the 2nd power plus 64 is equal to 0. So I believe in these two questions they're asking you to use u substitution, but you can also not use u substitution. So I'm going to go both ways. I'm going to start with using u equals x squared. Remember, I've always stated that the u value is sitting here. So that means that this is really just u squared minus 20u plus 64. What concerns me with you guys using u substitution, and I see the pattern over and over, is that you forget to go back and substitute in what the equivalent value is. So I just want to bring that to your attention, that I am concerned about that. So let's factor this out. We need a 20 in the center. So we know it's not 1 times 64. We know that 64 divided by 2 is not going to be the solution either, because that puts us at 32 here. There's no way that could become a 20. 3 does not divide into 64. And then when we try the 4, 64 divided by 4, well, that gives us 16. And 4 plus 16 is 20. So that means that this is going to be u minus 4 times u minus 16. And again, this is where I get nervous, because when you guys use substitution, you forget that you need to plug in that x squared. So this is really x squared minus 4 times x squared minus 16. And if we solve for these respectively, remember this is x squared minus 4 equals 0, which means that x squared is equal to 4, and therefore x is equal to plus or minus 2. We do the same thing for the 16. So we take x squared minus 16, which means that x squared is equal to 16, which means that x is equal to plus and minus 4. And so when we look at our answer choices, I believe that is answer choice B for number 9. All right. Question number 10. Question number 10 is the same thing. Oh, and before I continue, let me show you how to do this without u substitution in case you feel brave enough. So I'm looking at the question, and without u substitution, I'm going to use the teal to do this. I would simply say, okay, if that's x squared, this has to be x squared in the front for each of these, because I need an x to the 4th power. And then once again, I'm looking for a number that will add up to 20 but give me a product of 64. So obviously double negatives, and so this will be a minus 4, minus 16, and then solve just like we just did. So that takes you all the way quickly into this stage, and now you just solve. Okay, now question number 10, I would with no doubt use U substitution. In this question, you have x minus 2 square root of x minus 8 is equal to 0. So given that this is my center value, I am going to immediately say that u is equal to square root of x. So I have u minus 2u, u squared minus 2u minus 8 equal to 0. And so I'm going to factor from here. So that means that if I open up my factors, this is u, this is also u. I'm thinking minus 4 and a plus 2 would do it, because you need mixed integers, right? So negative 4 and positive 2 will give you negative 8. And if you do the inner outer, obviously the center term would be negative 2u. Once again, don't forget you did substitute. So this is really square root of x minus 4. And this is really square root of x plus 2. So now we need to solve, okay? And this is where it gets easy. So you have square root of x minus 4 equals 0. So we start with this. That means that the square root of x is equal to 4. If I square both sides, then I get x is equal to 16. Which in some cases, I think you guys already know that. You should have already seen that visually. Here you have the square root of x plus 2 equals 0. So therefore square root of x equals negative 2. And if I square again both sides, so square both sides, you end up with x is equal to 4. Because remember, square root times a square times a square, right? On number 10, you also should always check, because this is a radical. And in number 10, if you notice, our two answers are 4 and 16. But for number 10, your value, once you check it, so let's go ahead and check it. So you have x minus 2 square root of x minus 8 equals 0. So I'll start with the 16. So I have 16 minus 2 square root of 16 minus 8 is equal to 0. Does that check out? Well, the square root of 16 is 4, and 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. So you have 16 minus 8 equal to 0. Yes, this checks out. The other value you're going to input is the 4. So we're going to take the 4 and we're going to say, okay, it does 4 minus 2 times square root of 4 minus 8 equal to 0. And this is going to give you 4 minus square root of 4 is 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Minus 8 is not equal to 0. So 4 is not one of your solutions. So you can eliminate that as a solution. Okay, that's the first 10 questions of your review. I'm going to pause the video here.